While the Jedi and Sith are polar opposites in many ways, one thing that the two factions have in common is their deep-seated desire to master the art of lightsaber combat. The Jedi are well known for their dedication to peace and justice, have developed 7 distinct lightsaber forms of combat, each tailored to a different situation and opponents. These forms are not just techniques, but are reflections of their philosophy, emphasizing defense, control, and the protection of others. In contrast, the Sith, driven by their quest for power and dominance, have a very different approach to lightsaber combat. Rather than adapting a variety of lightsaber forms like the Jedi, the Sith have traditionally focused on just 2 main forms. But why was that? Lightsaber combat has always been a critical technique for both the Jedi and Sith, evolving since its creation. From the early stage of its existence, these two opposite factions have continuously developed and refined their methods of lightsaber combat. Even during the time of the prequels, lightsaber combat was still undergoing significant changes and improvements, reflecting the ever-going evolution of combat. The Jedi, in their structured and disciplined approach to combat, taught lightsaber combat by primarily focusing on 6 or 7 distinctive forms. These forms being Shicho, Makashi, Sorzu, Ataru, Chien/Djem So, Naman, and Juyo. Each of these forms emphasizing on a particular aspect of combat, allowing the Jedi to adapt various situations and opponents. For instance, Shicho, also known as the Termination form, was the most basic form taught to the younglings, and emphasized disarming an opponent without causing serious harm. However, the Sith saw this structured approach as one of the major flaws of the Jedi's perspective. To the Sith, the rigorous study of multiple lightsaber forms that did not harness anger and hatred was seen as a complete waste of time, and they believed that a true Sith Lord needed to challenge their rage and use it as a weapon. Focusing on ending battles quickly and decisively, in the mind of a Sith, every moment in combat should be spent assessing the most effective way to kill their opponent, and with no time wasting on defensive tactics or non-lethal strikes. Despite their disdain for the Jedi methods, the Sith ironically developed their own primary lightsaber forms. These included the strong style and the fast style, each with their own unique characteristics and applications in combat. The strong style was preferred by many Sith due to its emphasis on combining physical strength, body weight, and the dark side of the Force to deliver devastatingly powerful strikes. This form was often expressed as Djem So in ancient Sith philosophy, requiring practitioners to turn an enemy's attack back on them, making it ideal for lightsaber-to-lightsaber combat. Djem So demanded significant physical and force strength, and when used decisively, it allowed its user to draw the opponent close enough for a counterattack, such as a gutting slash or an elbow to the face. A defensive variation of Djem So, also known as Xian, was also employed by the Sith. Xian was particularly effective for blocking incoming blaster fire and was occasionally used with a reverse grip on the lightsaber hilt. However, this was typically a temporary measure, employed only long enough to close the distance with an opponent to recover from an attack. However, most Sith did not favor Xian as it was less aggressive and did not align with their combative philosophy of overpowering their opponents through sheer force and aggression. The fast style, on the other hand, emphasized footwork, speed, precision, and acrobatics. This form was rarely favored by the Sith, however, primarily because it lacked the aggressive nature of the dark side and dark side influence that characterized the strong style. The fast style prioritized agility over strength, which did not align well with the Sith's combat philosophy and dominating their opponents through brute force and the dark side energy. In addition to these 3 forms, the Sith also practiced a third form known as Juyo. Juyo was an incredibly challenging technique to master even for a powerful Sith. To use Juyo effectively, a Sith needed to fully understand and embrace the precept that emotion, not peace, leads to victory. Practitioners of Juyo has to give themselves completely over to their emotions in battle, channeling their hatred for their enemies, their fury to their actions, and their fear of failure. Juyo was based on quick, unpredictable strikes that required a Sith to fully immerse in their emotions to maximize their form's effectiveness. Furthermore, the Sith would also employ a technique known as Dun Mok to enhance their combative skills. Dun Mok involved using taunts and verbal attacks to undermine an opponent's confidence and willpower. This psychological warfare tactic often weakened an opponent's resolve, making them more susceptible to attacks and defeat. And when used effectively, Dun Mok could expose and manipulate enemies' insecurities, turning the tide of a battle in favor of the Sith. And if the user of Dun Mok was very powerful, they could even make the Jedi, if they're fighting that, feel completely alone and isolated from the Force. A few well-chosen words could be enough to sow doubt and fear in the hearts of an opponent, disrupting their focus and leaving them vulnerable to a Sith's relentless assault. But anyway, that is why the Sith only used 3 lightsaber forms and hated the rest of them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what your favorite lightsaber form would be if you were a Jedi or a Sith. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a ton. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, I think you'll really enjoy the video that's I'm putting on screen now. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.